Rob, should Rick Carlisle be fired? Can you hear me? Rob, can you hear
I
me?
think you offended him.
No.
No, I got nothing. Your face was frozen on my screen. I was very confused.
Oh, no, I was just asking you if Rick Carlisle should be fired.
Oh yeah, I mean completely. The dude is hack.
Okay, actually, serious question now that I've tried that awful joke twice. Dallas has quite a few free agents. New CBA aside, who do they need to re-sign right away? This is from The Regular Fan on Twitter.
Tyson Chandler is obviously the biggest person they need to re-sign on the roster as present. He's the key to the defense. And Brendan Haywood is a very good, average starting center in the NBA. I think the Mavs needed to keep him around in order to preserve the depth that they needed to really make this run. But, Chandler gives the team another dimension that Haywood simply cannot. And so if they want to preserve this kind of defense, the way that they played in the finals, the ability to stop those big-name offensive players who can really give the Mavs trouble in a lot of other regards, they need Chandler, period. And then after that, Caron Butler is a big piece that the Mavs could really use going forward, just if only because their options are so limited to add, other offensive talent. So, a healthy Caron Butler could really give this team some extra firepower for next season because they're going to have to be better if they want any chance of a repeat whatsoever. Miami's going to be better, Chicago's going to be better, Oklahoma City's going to be better. So, the Mavs need to improve as well. And so one way they can do that is with, a healthy Caron Butler really contributing in place of Deshaun Stevenson or Peter Stojakovic or a player like that. And then even beyond those two, I think bringing back J.J. Barea is particularly important, especially as, Jason Kidd gets older in age, and you never know what's going to happen with him in terms of injuries at this stage in his career. So having that kind of presence on the roster will be really helpful as well.
We have a question from a fan. Rob, your book came out 10 seconds after the finals. If the Mavs lost, what would the title have been from Hoopisms, our good friends?
The title would have been Nameless Word Document Shoved into My Recycle Bin. I'm really grateful for the opportunity, but, the product, spent time writing over the course of the final series would probably never see the light of day.
That's depressing. I guess I'll follow that up with another question. You asked one of the best questions I've ever seen asked in a press conference after I believe it was the game to LeBron on how they were defending him, and I guess it's really hard to get access to LeBron. So I'm wondering, are there any questions, or were there any questions you wanted to ask him that you didn't get a chance to that were floating around in your head?
Of course there are 1,000 other things you'd like to ask a player like LeBron James. A player with that kind of talent, and LeBron is actually really wants of the game if you can get him really going into that mood. And so, you want to ask him a ton of things. You want to ask him what he saw in the defense that made him, resort to being so much of a playmaker. What was unique about Tyson Chandler and the Dallas D that other teams couldn't pull off, that, Chicago, the best defensive team in the league during the regular season, couldn't pull off. That's what I'm interested in more than anything, because I'm as willing to acknowledge, Tyson Chandler and the Mavs defense as anyone in the league, or anyone covering the league, but, you still don't expect this out of LeBron James, even as well as Dallas played defensively in the finals. And so, that would be the one question I would really want to know, is what was really so unique about what Dallas did, and what he would do to counter it if given more opportunity to review tape or work on his game or whatever.
Rob, we've got a question from our friend Nick Flint. How does Roddy Beaubois fit in with the team next season? Also, how do you manage to be so handsome?
I comb my hair obsessively, and that's really the answer to that. Beaubois is really, he was the big question mark going into the last season, and he's the big question mark going into the next season as well, because, J.J. Barea, if the Mavs can bring him back, has really secured a lot of those backup point guard minutes, and he's going to be playing point guard. And then you have Caron Butler, hopefully returning. Deshaun Stevenson played really well. Jason Terry is playing better than ever. So, where those minutes for Beaubois are going to come from is a legitimate curiosity. to me, as I'm sure it is to Rick Carlisle, determined in training camp. And a lot of it's going to be dependent on how Beaubois really evolves his game in the offseason, because during his time in the regular season this year, he was either way too passive or overly aggressive at all times. He never really found that balance, and so he needs to really work on his game in terms of his awareness of both himself and the court, and figure out when are the best times to attack.
Is he really that good though? I mean, I know he had really impressive numbers for the amount he played in his rookie season, but I mean, as far as fitting in with the team, he's kind of that Jason Terry role. He's kind of, Barea is going to be the point guard. He didn't show great point guard skills, I would say. Is he really that good or even necessary?
He's not completely necessary because the Mavs just won the title without him, but, I've heard people, that's the popular comparison is to Jason Terry because he's an undersized, 2 if you go by, traditional positional nomenclature, and that's really what he is. That's the position he falls into because he doesn't have those point guard skills. But I think a more appropriate comparison might be actually to a young Devin Harris. And, when you saw the Mavs in the 2006 finals and in that whole playoff run, Harris and Terry were starting in the backcourt together. And Terry was really managing the point guard responsibilities, while Harris was really just kind of a guy who would catch the ball at the elbow, attack with, quick drives to the basket or pull-up jumpers or what have you. And so Beaubois, he's really a dynamic player, and he's, when you give him the ball, you take it and be able to score with it. He doesn't have that playmaking, and in a lot of ways, he may have actually hurt them as this postseason if he played, because he can be a bit of a ball stopper at times, and he hesitates on making that extra pass that guys like Barea and Kidd and Terry are so willing to make. And so, I mean, those are the things he really needs to work on, is how to fit better within this team, because right now.
All right, Rob, we gotta let you go. Thanks a lot for coming on. Great info. Everyone go buy his book on Amazon.